And now it's time for still yet again another installment of Creepy Cheapies, affordably priced mask recommendations with Dr. Lady. I'm Gunga Din, asking the musical question, if you forgot your keys, how you gunga din? But first, I'd like to point out that the character of Two-Face, Harvey Dent from Batman, one of Batman's old enemies, the character was around since 1942, off and on in the comics. And, despite being a popular Batman villain in the comics, he didn't catch on in a big way and become, a huge icon known by everyone, like the Joker and the Penguin and the Catwoman did, largely, I think, because he never showed up on the classic Adam West Batman TV series. Now, there were scripts written for Two-Face, and actually Clint Eastwood was considered for the part of Two-Face, but they decided it was a little too dark and a little too gruesome, and they couldn't figure out how to make it work in that prime time, kind of lighthearted version of Batman, so they never did it. I don't agree. I think Two-Face would have been a hilarious, campy villain that would have fit in perfectly with the mood of their show if they had played him, kind of funny, toggling back and forth between his good and evil sides. I think could have been funny, but I think the gruesome disfigurement thing made him a hard character to work around. But anyway, many years later, Two-Face became more of a household word after Tommy Lee Jones played him in one of the Batman movies, and then he showed up on Batman the Animated Series, and they did a little bit with him in one of the Christian Bale Batman movies. So today everybody kind of knows, oh, Two-Face, he's one of Batman's villains, up there with Joker, Penguin, Riddler, Catwoman, etc. So now everybody knows him. So if you're designing a mask or a monster that's a half normal, half mangled face, you have to be careful to not make it look like Harvey Two-Face, because everybody will see your mask and go, "Oh, Two-Face from Batman," and then you'll be all irritated because they will assume that's who that is. Now, of course, in addition to Two-Face, there were other horror characters with half-mangled faces, like specifically the Projected Man, 1965. He looked a lot like Two-Face from Batman, with one half of his face normal and the other half of his face all mutilated. And some versions of the Phantom of the Opera, and even the Amazing Colossal Man, as he looked in War of the Colossal Beast, he even had half of his face torn off. So you have to be careful in designing a half-mangled face, not to make it look like Two-Face from Batman. And I think sculptor Jon Fuller did an excellent job of it with this horrifying thing called Burnt Horror, which came out in time for the 2013 Halloween season from Ghoulish Productions. I think this is about as good a job as anybody can do of making a half-burned face that's kind of generic and appropriately creepy and all that, but doesn't look too reminiscent of Two-Face from Batman. For one thing, the other side is the mangled side. Two-Face is mangled on this side traditionally, and that was a good choice. And the style of the burned tissue, the stretchy, creepy, nasty, tendony, tissuey stuff going on, looks more like Freddy Krueger's type of burned up skin, and it ends up making this look more like a Phantom of the Opera type character than our old buddy Two-Face. Okay? And I've seen this used by a friend of mine very effectively with one of the Phantom of the Opera partial face masks. Have you seen those white masks that just cover one side of the face based on the Andrew Lloyd Webber version of Phantom? This works great with one of those as a all-purpose Phantom of the Opera. Obviously, it doesn't look exactly like that version or any other Phantom of the Opera, because it's an original take on the half-mangled, half-burned, crazy guy style of character. And I think very effective, creepy enough to be a little bit disturbing, because it's kind of realistic. It's not real cartoony like some half and half-faced masks are. Not too cartoony, but easy to wear. It's got a slit up the back, which some people don't like the slit up the back, I know, but come on, it's better. In this case, a guy with half his face burned off, it's better to have the slit up the back than to have to make the thing so big to get it on that it's unrealistically large. So it's kind of it's a nice head size. It's a little small, and that looks right. It's got a little hair on one side. Could have maybe stood more hair, I think. Could have stood to have some in the back, but that's just me. He's got one eye that's kind of this really disgusting dark purplish plum reddish brown color, which is very effective. And as you can see, he's severely mangled on that bad side. So good Phantom of the Opera character, or good just for use as a you know, as one of your Hills Have Eyes type mutant redneck characters. Depending on what costume you put him with, you could get a lot of different types of half-mangled guys out of him. And I think he's a good, scary, good quality one. I think he sells for around 60 beans. Is that right? About 60 beans? He thinks that's about right. And well worth it. You get plenty of latex here, enough to tuck into your costume and all that. So I recommend it. Sculpted by Jon Fuller, released by Ghoulish Productions. It's Burnt Horror! Look out! Here he comes!